Alright everybody, hello, welcome to me talking about Mario Kart World for a bit. So this is going to be a little different here. I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on the game, kind of just unscripted. I do plan to do some content on this game when it comes out for the second channel, so for those new here, hello. But I just want to talk about it a little bit more. My experience with Mario Kart is extremely casual. I've never been competitive in the game, and it's kind of just my random thoughts on it. But I wanted to go through everything that we've really learned about it. This won't be a comprehensive breakdown or anything, but I just want to give my opinion on the various parts of the game and what I think about it. So yeah, let's get started. First off, I want to talk about the new wings/gliding replacement and the surfing on the water instead of going underwater. I will say that I like both of these features. They both seem pretty cool. It looks like the water has a lot of depth to it between being able to do multiple tricks on it, how items can affect it, like the blue shell can hit and that'll create a shockwave you can bounce off of. Stuff like that seems really cool, and it's fun for me. The wings gliding thing looks really cool. I had a big problem with gliding in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I felt like the gliding was just a lot worse than it used to be. I felt like gliding in 7 was a lot more open and encouraged you to really move around in the air and try to take shortcuts. A lot of the tracks felt built around it. That didn't feel like the case here, but the wings here feel like a lot more easy to move around. It doesn't feel like the best strategy is to just try to go to the ground as best as possible. So I like them. I will say, I am going to miss the underwater sections, though, because I do think that you could get pretty creative with them, especially with how stages are laid out. Like, Wario Shipyard is a track I haven't seen full gameplay of yet, because I'm trying to wait for the release for it, but I looked at it and I was like, on paper, I felt like a lot of what made that track interesting in 7 was, you know, going in and out of the sunken ship and the sunken parts versus the parts above water, and you do kind of lose a little bit of that, so I wish they could have kept both. But that's really all I gotta say about that. Now, they did announce that there would be missions, and that does excite me a lot. But I'm also a little bit worried. They said there would be, like, I think over 100 missions. And it's kind of just something you can see during the free roam mode. And missions were my favorite part of DS. I really did like missions in DS. But my issue is hearing hundreds of missions makes me a little worried about what the quality of these missions might be. I do feel like a little bit concerned that the missions might just be a little bit of copy-paste or samey objectives. I felt like DS did a good job of making them feel very specific to whatever you were doing. I mean, hell, they had whole boss fights with it. I'd love to see something like that, but, you know, my question is really, how scaled down are they? Because we barely saw any of the missions at all. So I really don't know what we're going to have for it. Speaking of that, let's talk about the open world real quick. So, to be honest, just purely speaking from an individual perspective, I don't care too much for open world. I do like the idea of a connected world. Like when I played Sunshine, I really liked being able to see all the different areas. And when I played through Eclipse, I especially liked being able to connect each of those areas. Like I could swim all the way to Rico Harbor from Delfino Plaza, for instance. But when I was swimming to there was still a bit of a transition period where like you swim somewhat close to it and then you get transported to the area. I don't really feel the need to drive all the way from one track to another at a length that's like almost as much, if not as much as an entire course. Now, it's cool that they did that. I think most people are going to really like that. And I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is an extremely polished game that you really had to make major changes to when designing a sequel. So I think it's fine. It's probably just going to be a feature I don't use as much. I still think it's pretty cool. Like, even if I'm not personally, you know, super invested in using it myself, it does still seem kind of interesting just to see what they're doing with it, and just the whole concept of being able to drive literally anywhere it's cool. I'm interested to see it for sure. One thing that people have been talking about there is the connected track bits, which is just the fact that there's connections, and people have looked at the mini-map, and a lot of them just are like kind of straight roads. My thoughts on this? I don't know until it comes out. On paper, then yeah, that does look a little boring, but I think that it's going to be really made up for by the hazards on the stage, or at least I think that's what they're going to have to do to make up for it. Like, how many unique things are you going to have to deal with? Like, maybe certain enemies, or cars, or all that stuff. So I think that's going to be a big part of it, is how well does that feel, as well as just the item game, since obviously items will be a big part of any of these straightaways. So we really have to see how they're balanced. Some sections do look more interesting than others from what I've seen. but I think that it is reason for concern. As far as I'm aware, you can turn off the in-between sections, so even if in the worst case, if they are terrible, then just turn it off, and you don't have to use it. So, that works. Track selection. I don't know too much about this. I haven't looked too much into the tracks specifically, because I do want to see what those are like for the first time. But for the most part, I think that the ports and new tracks all look pretty interesting. I like the little bits I have seen. I think that a lot of the ports make sense. There's still some questionable ones. My least favorite is probably Moo Moo Meadows. I know that's a bit of a meme right now, but like we've been playing Moo Moo Meadows for a while, and it's never really been one of my favorite tracks. Quite the opposite. So I don't really see the need to bring it back over other courses, but hey, that's what we have. But for the most part, I think the tracks are pretty cool. There's a lot I'm looking forward to. Airship Fortress, Shy Guy Bazaar, even the new Sky High Sunday. I never thought I'd be excited for that track, but like, the changes I've seen to it, Sky High Sunday is like the one track I've seen a full race through. It looks cool. I know you can like ride on the walls in that half pipe section at the end, or not half pipe, the U-turn at the end. It looks so cool. So like, I'm actually excited for it. Characters and costumes. I like what they did with the roster. I like that they just threw in every random Mario character possible. It looks silly, and I love it. I'm fine with that. That's cool. Costumes. I think the method of unlocking them is cool. I have no idea why on the UI screen it looks like all the costumes are separate character slots. That looks horrible. I don't know why that's like that. So hopefully it's not as bad. Items and item balance. I think the new items all look pretty cool. I don't really have gripes with any of them. I think the coin shell looks a little boring to use, but it should at least be interesting. I have no idea what the Magic Koopa one does, and I kind of wish they elaborated on that. In general, this Direct really didn't go too in detail, and I feel like this was the place where you should have gone in detail, so I would have really liked to know what the Kamek item actually does. But for now, I mean, it's like, it's fine. I think the items overall look good. The new stuff is interesting. I'm glad to see the Mega Mushroom back, which I know everyone is. So I think that's interesting for sure. Item balance, I have seen some interesting changes. Most notably to the shock. It looks like the shock only shrinks you for about 2 seconds, and it doesn't shrink anyone behind you. So it looks like they really nerfed it, basically. And I'm down for that. The shock was a little too good before, so I think that's a good change. I'm excited to see that, because I think it was kind of obnoxious to deal with at times, and I think it'll still be an impactful item without feeling like too ridiculous at this point. So the items overall seem to be a little bit better balanced. I like the selection. My only major gripe here is, I don't know why the blooper is still in the game. Like, I really don't know why. I have no idea why blooper is an item in this game still. I don't know what they're doing. Some of the new tricks. There is like a grounded trick boost. You can mostly use that to get on walls, but if you can use it to dodge items, that also sounds cool. Maybe you can like jump up really small ledges, like maybe jumping over a small car or something. One we haven't seen applied too much, but there's a lot of straightaways, as you can see, so it adds something to do during them, so I like it. The wall ride is probably the thing I'm most excited for. I think there's a lot of creative freedom and cool shortcuts and pathing you can do with the ability to ride on walls. So I'm really curious to see what they do with it. I think that mechanic has me much more excited. There's also the rails you can ride on, which seem fine. Doesn't really seem like you have much to do on them, but as long as there's small little sections, or maybe like sections you have to platform onto, I don't really see the harm. Battle mode. Battle mode so far just saw 2 options. It looks like, from what I've heard, that the balloon battle is elimination again, which I like. The battle courses I'm a little unsure on. They look like they're in the in-between sections, so it's hard to say if these are actual battle stages or not. I think in my reaction I assumed they weren't, but looking back, I think they probably actually are stages. They just also function as in-betweens, which is cool. The in-betweens can be more interesting since they can be part battle stages in some places. But I think battle mode looks kind of bare bones. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a few other items like Shine Thief and this like Cops and Robbers ones. I thought those would have been really interesting. I don't know where they are. Balloon Battle is really the only one I'm super excited for. Also the, I don't know what it's called, like the Bomb-On mode, I would have really liked to see more of. I played through that a lot in Double Dash, so I think there could be more interesting stuff out there. But I think Battle Mode looks okay. Definitely a downgrade to me though, if I'm being honest, other than Balloon Battle. With that, we've covered all the basic things. Some hopes I have for the game. I'd really like to see 200cc. I'm assuming it's in the game, but we haven't gotten it confirmed, and I feel like the tracks, overall, from what I've seen, look a lot better for 200cc than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's did. Most of the tracks in Mario Kart 8, I'm not a fan of 200cc. And that's fair. I mean, 200cc was, like, not there originally, so it wasn't designed with it in mind. Oh, yeah, this replay mode is really cool, too. I didn't mention it. I really like the replay. It's nice to be able to learn shortcuts and stuff. Backwards mode on tracks. I would love the ability to drive through tracks backwards. You know, maybe they expand it a little bit. That would be really interesting to me. I do not like mirror mode. Mirror mode is just boring to me. I don't care if they put it in the game, but, like, I wouldn't play it. I would play a backwards mode. I think at some point, almost every Mario Kart player has gone through, like, oh, what tracks can you drive on backwards? Like, it's just a fun thing to think about. So, like, I would love to see actual versions of it. Every stage being able to be driven on backward. That'd be cool. Returning track hopes. Honestly, I don't really have too many of these nowadays. A lot of the tracks I used to want to come back have come back at this point. There's really only 2 tracks that I would be, like, super hyped to see back that weren't, you know, confirmed already. 2 tracks that I'd really care about. Which is DS Bowser's Castle. I love some of the shortcuts in that track, and I think the bridge, the spinning bridge, with 24 players would be so incredibly fun. And DS Rainbow Road. We have not seen, not DS Rainbow Road. DS Rainbow Road would be cool too. GameCube Rainbow Road. It should happen if we follow the pattern of Rainbow Roads coming back. Then I feel like it should be up. But I'd really want to see DS Rainbow Road. That one's just a bit nostalgic for me. I have a lot of good memories playing on that track. And I think the layout's also, like, kind of harsh at times. Like, there's this double 180-degree turn at the beginning. And then you have this loop with a whole bunch of boost panels. I think it could be really interesting. Especially if they were willing to change the track a little bit. I think it could be cool. Of course, there's one more thing to talk about before we get to my wrap-up, and that's the price. This game is $80. I've seen some people say it's $90 physical. I've not seen, like, any source on that, though. But I don't really care, because, like, $80 alone is kind of ridiculous. I think it's too much. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I would have been maybe even okay with this game being $70. Like, if the games were mostly $60 and this was $70, I would get it, because this is such a massive scale for the series, obviously. I can't imagine how difficult it was to do all of this. But $80 is just, frankly, it's too much. I think that that's an unfair standard. I think it's very clear that Nintendo knows how much Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold, and they want to try to get another high-selling game, maybe capitalize on that. But I think $80 is too much. And it kind of sucks, because I've looked at this game, and I feel like when I look at it now, I have to approach it with more scrutiny. Which, again, is, I think, a thing that a lot of people are feeling right now. I'm way more critical of some things, or just in general, like, not as hyped for it as I normally would be, because it comes with the caveat that this game costs, like, a third extra compared to what I'd normally be paying. So now I look at all these and I'm like, well, these are good, but are they $80 good? And I hate thinking like that. It sucks. Now, luckily, there is a bundle where the game is essentially $50 if you get it with a bundle, which I'm going to do. I think most people are going to do that. And if you're thinking about getting the game, I'd encourage you to do it that way, because there is no way in hell that this should be worth $80. But I am still worried that even if I and a lot of others aren't going to do it, that enough people are going to just fork over the $80 that it's going to become more of a standard. I hope that's not the case. I really hope so. But I have a bad feeling when the game comes out, a bunch of people are still going to buy it for $80. I hope I'm wrong, though. With that, my overall thoughts. I'm excited for this game, for sure. I don't really have any extreme negative feelings about it. There's nothing they really did that makes me feel, like, less hopeful about it. But I wouldn't say there's too much that, like, makes me feel super excited for it, which feels crazy. There's clearly a lot of good stuff here, and I don't mean for that comment to make it seem like the game is bad in any way, because, like, I think this is looking like a really good game. And I am excited for it still. But I think I'm, like, not as hyped as I initially expected it to be. Maybe part of that is just that it's been such a long wait for a Mario Kart 9 that, you know, it's kind of hard to live up to those expectations. Because, again, it's been so long since a new Mario Kart game. It still doesn't even really feel real. But I'd still say I'm optimistic for it. I think it's going to be a good game. At the end of the day, I don't think any of the problems are really major for it, other than the price. The price is stupid. I think the game itself is going to look great, though. I'm excited for DLC, though. If the game's going to be $80, the DLC better not be... The DLC better be free at this point, but, like, it's not. I hope that we see some more interesting additions, and I'm excited for it. So, I think this game is cool. I hope I can play it a bit on launch, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this random unscripted rundown of all my thoughts on it. Thanks for watching.